pleasure for me to be here. We have special guests for you this week, just like we did last week. And a quick shout out to all the groups that we have created and the members who is ever increasing our membership. We have our ARC Teacher Network on our Facebook American Reading Company page. We have the ARC Nurturing Biliteracy group that is ever growing. And last but not least, the ARC Parent Community group. I want to give a special shout out to all the members of these specific groups that are uniting to solve problems as we navigate new terrain. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Amelia Larson, to introduce our very special guest this week.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with Tio Mario. We're very happy to welcome Michelle Fannin today. She is a 5th grade teacher at General Green Elementary School in Guilford County Schools. We also want to recognize her principal that is listening in, Stephanie Harris, and her teammate, the other 5th grade teacher, Jennifer Van Noyen, is also listening in. But in thinking about how we wanted to kick this off, we were thinking about you teachers. We know how hard you're working and the amount of energy that it takes to pull this off. There has been a disruption to our personal lives, a disruption to our professional lives, and sometimes what we know how to do, what we feel comfortable doing, it's not there anymore. So it's a lot of adjustments. And with that, we asked Michelle to share a little bit of some of the things that she's keeping in mind as she has started this transition. This is just going to be the first time Michelle is with us. She's going to engage in some step 0 kinds of tips, but she's going to be back next week. So Michelle, take it over.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen here. So thank you for the wonderful introduction. Like Amelia said, I'm a 5th grade teacher in Guilford County at General Green. I teach ELA and social studies with my teammate Jennifer, who's tuning in. So hello. This is my 2nd year here in Guilford County. A little bit about my background of kind of where I'm coming from in my blended learning kind of journey. I was in New York before I was here when I moved 2 years ago, also teaching 5th grade, and my interest in video instruction and blended learning really started when we took on the Common Core math curriculum. When I taught in New York, I was in a self-contained classroom. So I was looking to provide some at-home supports, and I pulled out my cell phone, held it in my left hand while I solved math problems in my right hand, and that's where my YouTube channel started. From there, I caught the attention of one of our academic coaches who worked with us at the time. He said, Michelle, what are you doing with your cell phone videos? Let's make this a little more, let's step it up a little bit. So I started recording some instruction. And then because at that point I had actually transitioned into an integrated co-teaching classroom with a 50-50 mix of special education students and general education students, I started to get creative with the way I used my videos. So I was lucky enough to be in a one-to-one technology classroom that year. I pushed out my instruction digitally so that I could meet with students in intervention and strategy groups all day long. The past couple of years, I've bounced back and forth between a one-to-one classroom and not a one-to-one classroom, so one device for every student. Currently, I'm not, so I still wanted to use my video instruction. So I continued recording my lessons, but anticipated where students may react when I play them live, and I would actually and still co-teach with myself up on the screen. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And this video progression shifted, from these quick at-home videos to like 10 to 15 minutes of instruction, and then solidified it down to like 2 to 5 minute videos. So it's been a 4 to 5 year journey with this. A little bit about Guilford County, what we're expected to do right now through this remote learning and through the pandemic. We're all logging 7.5 hours of remote work. We're teaching 3 new lessons each week. We've recently pulled that back. We are expected to have some sort of face-to-face instruction. So somewhere we're incorporating videos. we're moving to a student feedback model so that students aren't just submitting their work and then it disappears and they never hear from us again. We are collaborating with our teammates. So thank you, Jennifer, for tuning in. I couldn't do any of this without her. The two of us work together very, very well. And we just found out yesterday that we are going to begin thinking about grading. So we'll have a complete and incomplete grading policy for the fourth quarter, which came out after I finished these slides. So I added the note of adaptability because, as we all know, everything is changing very, very quickly. So we're all kind of just rolling with it. So in talking about a virtual ecosystem, we wanted to share what that is. So it comes down to classroom community. It feels like the first day of school all over again. We had a classroom community before, and that it feels like it's disappeared, but there are ways to bring that community back. So years back in the PD session on reading intervention, I remember the presenter tell us that if you can't break what you're doing down into 3 simple steps, then you need to rethink your plan. And I live by that still to this day. So my 3 simple steps for creating this classroom community online is to be yourself, share yourself, and allow opportunities for conversation. So in being yourself, it is really important to remember that we do not need to reinvent the wheel right now. There are so many things that you are already doing in your classroom that you're able to continue doing online. So what is it that you're already doing that you can transfer onto that digital platform? For example, routines. None of us would dare go through a day in our classrooms without having routines locked in place. So think about where you would like an online routine. What would you like it to look like? What would you like it to feel like? What are students going to do every single day when they log into your online classroom? Do they know where to look? Do they know what their must-dos for the day are? So just like in the classroom, we can't assume that they just know. We need to teach them this, just like we do in person. So here, this is what my home screen looks like. Guilford County is using Canvas. So when students log in, here's what they see. Directions where to follow. And eventually I can transition these instructions into fancy buttons, but I'm starting with what I know right now and working from there. Once they go to those announcements page, I've got, this is called a HyperDoc that I've got posted. So I tried to put a current one up from, this is just yesterday. So this is like a one-stop shop of where they go, what they must do, what they can do, all laid out in one place for them with everything linked so they're not clicking and opening websites all over the place. In this document, I try to anticipate the questions ahead of time because we know when we're teaching in the classroom, hands are going up all the time. So I try to anticipate what some of those questions are and put everything that they need right there. In addition to routines for the students, think about routines for parents. Do they have a routine through this online instruction as well? Because they are just as anxious and stressed out as we are. So try to give them something to ease the unknown as well. So, you know, the day by day can be overwhelming for them, just as it is for us. But if we try to provide a way to give them a bigger picture, to see the bigger picture of what to expect and what's happening, then that can help. So this is an example. This is what Jennifer and I put out throughout the week to lay things out so parents can see what's expected. They can see the links ahead of time and they can help pace their students. Because one thing that we definitely heard was that they're struggling with the accountability at home. So giving them a routine is helpful. And then what about a routine for you? Keep your resources consistent. If there is something that you are using in class and can continue to use it. So for me, those are our websites like Padlet, like Flipgrid, and like Education Galaxy. There's a lot out there that we can learn right now, and we'll all get to a point to being able to learn more about these, but start with what you know. In addition to that, in ARC with the American Reading Company, I'm continuing to use what I know. So I'm using the Curriculum Resource Center that they have posted on SchoolPace. We're continuing to use the FPO pages as well, which you can also find at the Curriculum Resource Center. And then I'm also using the ARC Bookshelf to use the core text so students can access that core text. There will be more information specifically about how I'm using these when it comes to planning out lessons and delivering the instruction, and that will come in my next session. So tune in for that one as well. Let's see, there's our bookshelf. So another piece of being yourself is being consistent and delivering your expectations, because we do that in the classroom as well. So you can do that here just like you do live. So students like to know what they're going to be expecting each day. The unknown can sometimes be scary. So if we lay it out for them, then it helps ease some of that anxiety a bit. So this is an example of what one of my announcements look like. At the bottom is where I would post my hyperdoc. So this is kind of just my greeting. And I just started recording myself reading this to them too. So the first thing they see is me talking to them. In addition to that, if you see here at the top, this one is super easy. If there's something in the classroom you're doing, like playing music, you can do that here too. You can move that environment right over to them. Send a link to some background music. So mine's a link to some acoustic guitar, because that's usually what I would play in the classroom. So these tiny touches can really help make students feel more comfortable. So in being yourself, remember that none of us are perfect. So if you make a mistake, if you're going to try working with some video instruction, which I use Screencastify, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that before, to record my presentations, but if you're recording it and you make a mistake, it's okay. Why stress about recording and re-recording it just because of something little? It reminds students that you are human, not just a robot on your screen. So this, for example, is my reaction when I realized that I missed an entire paragraph mid-recording. I said, oops, accidentally did that, and I kept going, because that's what I would do in the classroom. So it brings part of myself back there. Which kind of leads me to the next one, bring yourself to it. If you're being yourself, now share yourself. So that's my second step here. So what pieces of yourself can you bring to that digital platform? So pets, for example. If you have pets, these are my two fur babies. You can tell which one's a little more active than the other from that screenshot, but let them be part of your teaching. So here I posted a video in the first few days of remote learning where I pretended my dogs were my students. Mason, the blurry one, didn't do his homework, but Benjamin in the back, he's a good boy, and he did do his homework. So, you know, the kids got a kick out of it. So in the classroom, you know, we tell stories all the time to our students. We can continue to do that here. We just need to be a little creative about it. And if those pets crash your video, that's okay too. Keep on rolling. It's who you are. It's part of your life. If you have children, incorporate that into your day too. If you're doing a read aloud, let them be part of it. Share yourself. I do not have children, but I have used my father before. So this, for example, is a lesson that I had taught. We were working within a test genre. So I was telling students, trying to make a connection about my experiences with my father preparing to take a road test. So whenever you can share yourself, share yourself. A super easy way to share yourself is with your Bitmoji. You can add it right as an add-on in your internet browser for some easy copying and pasting. If you haven't noticed, I use mine all over the place. It's been, I think, on every single slide so far. But especially as we've transitioned to remote learning, I'm using it even more to remind students that I am here. So I'll pop it into my slides right there. You may have also noticed that with these screenshots of videos that I've recorded, my face is there on all of them. I could, turn that feature off and I could just do a voiceover, but I think keeping my face on the screen is one of the most important things that I do. Because it's a personal connection and a reminder. I don't know how my hands have been, but I'm a hand talker as well. I'm trying to hold on to them in front of me, but I do that in my lessons, and the kids are seeing me, and they're seeing my usual self and my usual mannerisms, and it brings that personal connection right back to it. And it makes the students feel like it's a one-to-one lesson. It does feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it gets easier, and you don't have to listen back to yourself. You can record it and upload it, and it's the students who watch it. So my third simple step is to allow opportunities for conversation. We know how important the teacher talk to student talk ratio is. And here it kind of feels like we're just pushing out content. So how can we continue to manage that teacher talk to student talk ratio while we're online? A huge part of a classroom community is letting the students feel like it is their community. But if you're doing all the talking, they may not feel part of it. So Flipgrid, that is a super powerful tool. It's a free website that allows you to receive student videos. So you pose a question to them and they respond back. This can be used for reading responses. It can be used for SEL questions, social emotional learning. It can be used for birthday messages. I have a student birthday tomorrow. We've got a Flipgrid posted for her that her friends will leave messages. There was one before spring break. I even had a student break out a guitar and sing, for some of these birthday messages. But my Flipgrid board this year alone, you can see the engagement. It's racked up 2 days and 10 hours worth of total engagement. And that is all student talk, that's student engagement. Another thing you can do is utilize discussion boards. No matter what platform you're using, there is a way for students to have conversations back and forth. So I try to post non-academic discussion boards occasionally. Doesn't have to be every single day. I try to do one a week. But again, that could be related to social emotional learning. It could be related to mindfulness like this one was, or it could be silly questions as well. Would you rather type of things. So, and be sure to check back with them because the students love to see your responses to what they are answering. The last piece that I've been trying to bring student talk back into it is our class meetings. So this is a new piece because I was not a dive right in and hold daily live sessions type of person. I needed some time to digest everything, and I needed to ask myself, what can I commit to and what can I hold with fidelity. So I settled on a Monday and Friday Canvas conference meeting. So on Canvas, that's our video message or our video conference system. So this way I'm working to open and close the week with social emotional learning questions, plus try to build some anticipation for the week as well. Then I close my week out with my students. So I ask everybody come prepared to answer a few questions. So this week it was about what did you enjoy most about having some time off? I asked them who's the funniest person you know and why. And I asked them, would you rather be stuck in a whisper or a scream for the rest of your life? So we had some interesting answers and reasons why, but it's something they look forward to. And it's a great open and close to the week that I think. So 3 simple steps to get yourself started as if it's the first day of school again. Be yourself. Don't reinvent yourself. Share yourself and allow opportunities for student conversation. And that's what I've been basing everything I've been doing off of so far. So I don't know if there were any questions that came in. I've got to pull my chat back up here, but that's what I have for you all.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure we're going to have some questions, but going back to your 3 main points, the first one I think is so important when you made a deliberate decision about there are things that I do every day in my classroom, the bricks and mortar that are critical to bring consistency into the classroom, and you transfer those same moves. What did you use to make sure that kids kind of knew how to transfer in terms of the routines and expectations? You showed some things. Are there certain apps that you used, or did you have a Zoom conference with everybody? What did you do at the very start to recommunicate that?
Yeah, so it comes down to them hearing my voice a lot. So I do use Screencastify. That is an add-on to your browser. It is a free program that allows you to screen record. You can webcam record yourself. But I made sure that they heard my voice in the beginning and that they saw me. And then it was just frequent check-ins, frequent reminders to make sure that everybody was on the same page. But I do highly recommend Screencastify. There's also, I believe, Screencast-O-Matic is another website that you can use as well to help screen record. But it's important to let them see you so that you can communicate it yourself.
Very good. Do we have more questions?
I don't see anything new in the chat box, but I do have a question for Michelle. We've gotten a lot of feedback from teachers who maybe have had less experience in the digital space. So what would you say to teachers who have very limited previous experience using some of the technology that we're all kind of thrust into learning so that it's not so overwhelming? What would you say to the teacher who's kind of just starting?
I would start with just one thing. Pick one thing. And if the next week you're comfortable with that one thing, maybe it's screen recording, because you probably deliver, you probably make presentations to go with your lessons. So continue making your presentations and then try recording that. Or maybe even if you're using PowerPoint, there is an audio feature. You can voice record, so start with baby steps. You're already making presentations. So use those presentations, add your voice to it. The week after that, maybe add a video to your voice as well. And as you become comfortable with that one, building from there, but don't try to learn everything at once. Because like I said, I started holding my phone in my hand and, writing with a pencil. So, start one piece at a time.
Thank you so much.
What about, I know that it takes a lot of time and a lot of forethought to really anticipate what is going to happen, what kids are going to need. You even talked about parents and how do you keep your energy up?
That's a great question. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. I have worked a lot, I think, in my life to try to keep a positive mindset. So, taking time to breathe, taking time to step away from your computer. And then don't assume negative intentions, because, I've gotten parent emails firing at me, but, they're just as overwhelmed as we are. So if we all step back and assume positive intentions, then that helps you reframe your mind to continue pushing forward. But, I start with one piece at a time as well. I had mentioned before on my homepage, I have just a list of instructions. I've seen beautiful Canvas pages with all these buttons linked to different pages and all this stuff, but I'm not ready for that yet. So keep in mind where you are ready, what you're ready for, when you're ready to move forward, because you'll feel it, and take some time for yourself.
Thank you so much.
I have been to your classroom, and I know that you have students that have different needs. Some have special needs, some need more emotional supports. How are you managing this? How are you taking care of their specialized needs in this whole thing?
And that's a place to grow as well, because as we transition to this, in the beginning we were just pushing out content, but now as we start moving towards a feedback model, because we're all becoming a little bit more comfortable, it's important to work with any collaborating teachers that you have, schedule out when you are conferencing with students so that you're not overwhelming students, working with their EC teacher, working with you as well. But so I think a lot of time management is important. Who's talking to who, and who's, when are they talking? Jennifer and I have talked about, recording some of the ARC materials, like when we push out that core text. The words are displayed on the screen, but that's a purple level book for 5th grade towards the end of the year. So, in class, we would provide an audio version of that. So, trying to keep some of those pieces consistent for students is really important. Giving them feedback as well. For example, on the Flipgrid, and I'll get more into this in the next session as well, but Flipgrid, for example, I've been using that a lot for reading responses. So I'm reminding students of their power goals. They are recording responses back to me, trying to talk about them. I noticed one student in particular, she was not talking about her power goal at all. She was showing me the front cover of her book every single time. So just, being there for her, recording videos back, asking questions, whatever you can do to scaffold your learning. I don't know if that helped. I started
we can't wait until you come back to get really into the plan.
Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe you can talk Jennifer Van Oyen in coming with you, because I know the teaming is so powerful. So Mario, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I think with the last question we have here, what ARC digital resources have been most successful? We know at the beginning of your conversation with us, you mentioned ARC Bookshelf. So that's access to a leveled library by the EARLA color level to be able to provide a huge library digitally for students to read from. You also mentioned the Curriculum Resource Center, where all of the frameworks, the teacher frameworks from ARC Core are available. You also mentioned the final project organizers, so more student-facing materials from the Curriculum Resource Center. And then you talked about Power Goals. So you think School Pace, where a lot of the information about how students are progressing can be used to be able to push Power Goals and continue to grow them as readers. Is there any one particular tool that's been the most helpful that you'd like to highlight for the ARC teacher community that's listening in?
Yeah, the first thing that I opened was School Pace. Now, the frequency is not the same as it would be in the classroom right now. I would like to, but in building routine and reminding students that this is here and that I'm responding, I'm hoping that that will continue to grow. So School Pace was my first step. I've actually even in videos changed a couple of Power Goals for students, which has been really neat. And the Curriculum Resource Center, that has been huge because, like many of you, we left school one day and, we didn't go back. We thought we'd be out for 2 weeks. We didn't know how long it would actually be. But there was no need for me to go pick up my physical books because everything is right there on the Curriculum Resource Center, and then some on top of it. So it was nice. It was not as scary transitioning into a new unit because when we left, we were in Unit 3. We're now in Unit 4. We're studying the Civil War here in 5th grade when we had just finished reading Wonder with realistic fiction. But everything I needed, I was able to pull up the overviews, the research cards, the FPO pages, the research pages. So that was a really nice piece for me and for Jennifer that we got to keep consistent.
One more question that is coming up is about conferencing, like the frequency and how you are engaging in conferencing. Can you talk a little bit about Flipgrid and how it's working for students?
Yeah, so Flipgrid, it's not a live video. This is just how I'm starting to remind students that we do conference and that I'm usually pulling students up during wide reading all the time. So I have one Flipgrid board. You post different boards, and this one is all about their power goal. They get a code and they discuss, that's the same as, when they come to my table and I say, tell me about your power goal. That's the same thing they do on this recording. So it's not live. So I watch them on my own time and I respond to video back the same way I would as if it were a one-to-one conversation. As I'm listening to their recording, that's when I'm typing into School Pace. But again, like I said, it's a step one. So I'm not filling in 49 conferences every day for my 49 students. What I would like to transition to, and actually just this week, instead of saying every single day record a video, I've pulled back a little bit to ask students to record one a week because I think every day that was a little unrealistic. So it's all about kind of adapting yourself in what you are doing. So flexibility is key with your power goal instruction. What you can also do, and I'm not here yet, again, we're all growing. So start in a place where you're comfortable and that you can commit to, and then go on from there. But there is the possibility in the future of sending out a sign up or a survey to get a schedule for students of when they know on a weekly basis they can meet with me. So, if there's 5 students on a Monday who can meet with me during this time frame, then, that can be a schedule just like I had in the classroom. But again, be flexible. because everything's changing minute by minute. But pick something that you're comfortable with sticking to, and go from there.
So thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate you sharing yourself with us, and we can't wait until you come back and bring Jennifer. All right, Mario, do you have any parting words?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know I speak for the entire team back at American Reading Company, and for everyone who has joined our new Facebook groups, and saying a huge thank you for your contribution to this conversation today. Just a quick reminder, we're here every single Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we invite all questions during our chats and in between. Feel free to provide us some feedback about some of the tips that maybe you're going to try out that Michelle laid out for us, or questions that you have about other topics that maybe haven't come up yet that we do need to absolutely address. A quick plug for next week. We have Isabel Campoy and Alma Florada, world-renowned authors in the Spanish book market. I'm actually reading Island Treasures by Alma right now, one of the best memoirs I've ever read before. And many of you might be familiar with the book Authors in the Classroom, around transformation, the transformative process for education. They'll be with us next week at 5 o'clock talking about poetry in the virtual community. So thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Amelia. And thank you all for tuning in this week. Appreciate it. Bye, friends.